But good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hamira Osman, and on behalf of Muscular Dystrophy Canada, I'd like to welcome all of you to our first session from our Neuromuscular virtual conference. This conference would not be possible without the support of our staff, volunteers, clients, donors, and partners. While we've had a very successful webinar series called Let's Talk NMD, Let's Talk Neuromuscular Disorders since April, we are very glad to spend the next few weeks learning, sharing, and connecting with all of you. With that said, I will hand it over to our CEO, Stacy Lintern, and I just wanted to also note that today's webinar is available in English and in French, and so you are able to go to the bottom of your screen where it says interpretation and select English or French. Over to you, Stacy.
Thank you, Homera. Hello, bonjour. Welcome to the kickoff of Muscular Dystrophy Canada's first virtual neuromuscular conference, Individually Rare, Collectively Common. I'm Stacy Lintern, CEO for Muscular Dystrophy Canada. This year, COVID has forbidden us to gather and learn in person. However, we have found a way to come together to learn and share in a safe way. Individually Rare, Collectively Common represents MDC's commitment to delivering our programs and supports to meet our clients and their family needs in an individualized, customized, and person-centered way. Our clients and their families have taught us that every individual has their own story, unique experience, and it's our commitment to meet our clients and their families where they're at in their personal journey on their own terms. However, our clients and their families have also taught us that there's some commonalities. For example, the reason why we're here today, the importance of learning and exchanging information so that our clients and their families can be empowered to make informed decisions. We're so happy to offer this conference. We're hopeful you'll be able to learn, share, and be better informed. We would like to thank our staff, our donors, our partners, our volunteers, firefighters, clients and their families, and all of our supporters. Without you, we wouldn't be able to deliver this conference. Thank you to our sponsors and our speakers. On behalf of the neuromuscular community, we truly appreciate your support. Now I will hand it back over to Homera Osman, Director Knowledge of Translation and External Engagement. Homera has been the lead on this conference and we commend her for her outstanding efforts. Thank you and merci.
Thank you very much, Stacy. So we are ecstatic to have one of our clients, Dayle Sheehan, give the kickoff talk today on her neuromuscular journey. Dayle is a lead designer and owner of Dayle Sheehan Interior Design Inc. and Dayle Sheehan website and social media consulting. She aims to motivate others to live their best lives in the most beautiful environment possible. Her story of managing a neuromuscular disease, chasing her dreams, and living her best life has allowed Dayle the opportunity to become a sought-after interior designer, website designer, public speaker, advocate, and a thoughtful and lifestyle influencer. We are so grateful to have you today, here today. Pass it over to you, Dayle.
Thank you guys so much for inviting me to speak. I think I'll just get right into it. I have in the past done a speech and it sounds like it's a little bit negative at the beginning, but I do have a question for you all. And it was a question I asked myself when I was first in a wheelchair. And at the time, it felt like the worst case scenario for my life. What happens when the worst thing you can imagine becomes your reality? We all have our own definition of what the worst thing looks like. For many of us, our varying definitions are potentially what have us at this conference today. So often speakers get up and start with, you can do anything you set your mind to, or if you believe it, you can achieve it. Well, I will start with the obvious. No matter how much I hope for it or believe in it, nothing changes the fact that I cannot stand up and walk across this room. Like many of you, I have challenges that cannot be willed away. The positive affirmations I see on social media and in self-help books just don't always apply to my most basic reality. And if my most basic reality can't be changed, how do I keep the hope alive that my life can be full, beautiful, successful, and most importantly, happy? Let me introduce myself. I am Dayle Sheehan. I'm an interior designer, a social media consultant, a public speaker, a regular on the morning shows, a thought influencer, and most recently, a top 40 under 40 winner here in Calgary. I don't want you to get the wrong idea about me. I am not the cynical person that my opening remarks may suggest. I've actually been described as one of the most positive people that many have encountered. Like many of you sitting here today, I have faced huge adversity. But the facts about me are I have an incredibly happy life. My story goes something like this. I was 16, I had muscular dystrophy, and I was walking on my toes permanently. My mobility was changing, and nobody seemed to understand it. A young doctor proposed a surgery that he hadn't thought through with my condition, as well as the extent of muscle loss that was possible due to the recovery period was grossly underestimated. Mistakes within the actual surgery took me off my feet for months longer than even expected. As a result of this, I was never able to walk again. Just like that, I had to accept that I would be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. This was the first day that my hope was shattered. As a popular high school senior who, in hindsight, cared way too much about the way things looked, I was embarrassed, sad, confused, and I worried about where my life would go and who I would become. In short, the absolute worst thing that I could have imagined at that time had happened to me. So now what? Grieving the loss of my mobility. When I was first in a wheelchair, I didn't know I was allowed to feel grief. I didn't really even know the difference between grief and sadness. But the truth is, losing something as basic as being able to stand up is a huge loss to your life. Saying goodbye to an independence I had always known was very heartbreaking. Like any major trauma or challenging situation, I had to piece my life back together. It was like a puzzle that had been dumped on the ground, except all of the pieces were blank. I just didn't have a roadmap for this. I had to sort out my life. What will my new life goals look like? How will I have a job and get there every day? What type of work can a person in a wheelchair do? Will I ever get to fall in love and get married? Then the heavier issues began to creep in. What if I die from this? In short, if it was a concern, I managed to worry about it. What I didn't know was that the hardest part about piecing my life back together was still to come. I had to learn how to be happy and how to manage my sadness about a life that I knew would be harder than I ever dreamt possible. This is when I entered what I call my yeah but phase. You're probably wondering, what is a yeah but? Yeah buts are something we all have. We all tell ourselves stories about the reasons that we can't accomplish our goals. You can't, you won't, and not you mindsets lead to our yeah but stories. They sound like, I'd love to go back to school to get my master's. Yeah, but I can't afford it. Or, yeah, but I don't have the time. Or, yeah, but I'm not smart enough. You can insert whatever story you have told yourself here. Whatever your big scary goal is that you aren't ready to chase has a yeah, but. If it didn't, you'd be on the road to achieving it. The comfortable thing about this phase of my life is I had a built-in yeah, but for everything. My wheelchair and mobility challenges became my safety net. The trouble with a life full of yeah, buts is there is this nagging part of your brain or your heart or your intuition that quietly keeps whispering to you, what if? I am a dreamer. I've always been a dreamer and I'll always be a dreamer. My what if was showing up often. It was not whispering to me anymore. Now it was shouting. There is more to life than playing small, so why not you? Why is success, health, happiness, and love for other people? Finding my way. Changing my yeah buts into how to's. Yeah but number one. I can't work. I truly, truly believed that I would not be physically capable of earning a living and providing for myself. I'm sure many of you can relate to finances being a huge challenge when you're trying to make a change in your life. After high school, I felt lost. I wanted to be an interior designer. I spoke with a guidance counselor at my high school, and he had informed me that the interior design program required the ability to build a piece of furniture, as well as the obvious obstacles of getting into people's homes would be very challenging in a wheelchair. He was right. It would be a very challenging choice. I listened to his advice. I found a smaller college and I looked for a program that was less physical, and I enrolled. When I finished school, the real world wasn't so simple. My fears still remained. How will I work? I needed to leave the house, get out of my car, and enter a building independently. I panicked. Being full body weak, I didn't know how any of this was going to be possible. So I was paralyzed by fear. I began working with friends and family on interior design projects because that was actually what brought me joy. One day I was visiting with my aunt and uncle, and my aunt, who is a brilliant business coach, said to me, "Why are you doing interior design work for free?" So I told her all about the previously mentioned stories with the guidance counselor and that my mobility challenges and how it's really hard for me. She reminded me that I'd figured out a way to work with people already, so why wouldn't I at least try to make it my career? She fired me up enough that I quickly enrolled in a program online because I was hoping to study at my own rate and finish early. Keep in mind, I'd already wasted years in college taking another program. Well, my 3-year program ended up taking 9 months. There were some huge, huge lessons in this for me. I proved to myself that when I'm aligned with my passion and excited about my future, I am a huge go-getter. This is something I never really realized before this situation. I always had this idea that I was a slow-moving person who would just get by. But all of a sudden, I was moving quick and making things happen. I was officially empowered to do something about my career and, more importantly, the fears I had surrounding it. When we're in the weeds of life's hard stuff, we can get into thought patterns and that repeat negative messages about who we are and what we can achieve. My second lesson from this was to stop letting someone else decide my path. Why is someone else's opinion of what we are capable of more important than our own? Why do we give other people's words so much power? My guidance counselor's intentions were good, but I needed to say, thank you for your opinion, because that is all it is one person's opinion. I have a rule now. When I get an opinion, especially a limiting belief, I ask myself the question, do I want the life of that person who is giving that opinion? If I don't want to live their exact life, I cannot listen to their fears, ideas, and opinions over my life. My third lesson from this was that I needed to surround myself with an amazing support system. My life only works because I have amazing people who believe in me and help me on every level. There are two kinds of people in this world. The first is someone who is your champion. The second is someone who is not your champion. We often have people in our corners who feed our yeah, but limiting beliefs. And this next phase of your life, if you're going to go after your big, scary, crazy goal, it needs champions. So you have to ask yourself, are your people helping you level up, or are they dragging you down? You have to find the right people to have in your corner. Yeah, but number 2, I will always struggle with my weight. I may have given you the wrong idea about me when I described myself as the popular girl in high school. I was very popular, but I was not the bombshell that you're envisioning. I was already a little bit plump, and my mobility had been declining for many years before I wasn't able to walk. I walked on my toes and I was not able to run or jump or tackle the stairs quickly. So I wasn't the most active kid. I chalked my weight issues up to limited mobility as well as genetics. Once in the wheelchair full time, I realized that this weight issue was not going to get any easier. This was scary because the heavier I got, the harder it was to move around. I knew I had to smarten up. But I didn't have a social life that consisted of absolutely anything physical. I spent a lot of time going for dinner, to see a movie, or to the mall. It was a very, very sedentary life. I swam when I could, but I really didn't see the scale changing. As I matured, I realized that I was in control of one thing, and that one thing is my food. I needed to eat less and to eat healthy food that fueled my body. That's it. That's the only tool I have in this toolbox. I did, and continue to do and spend energy on my health. Do I have days that I wish I could just eat the treat and go to the gym to justify it? Absolutely, every day. Do I still base my social life on dinners with friends, the movie, and the mall? Yes. So I need to make healthy food choices no matter where I end up. As the weight began to drop, a dark cloud began to lift. I know that sounds a little bit dramatic, but my weight was beginning to affect my mobility. I was feeling heavy, not just on the scale, but my energy levels, the way I felt about myself, and the scariest part, where my health may end up if I continue to make poor choices with food. I learned a huge lesson about my weight, about I learned a huge life lesson through my weight loss journey. When I am stuck with any problem now, I look at the areas I can control. I cannot slow down or stop the deterioration of my muscles. And if I sit around and focus on that injustice, it will not benefit me. When I'm up against a challenge in my day-to-day life, I ask myself, what about this situation can I control? What areas can I improve upon immediately? Often, the only thing I can control is my outlook and attitude. I use gratitude for what is good about my day and my life to offset the tough days. I say thank you to the universe or God or whoever you believe in for every successful transfer. I say thank you for the ability to still cook and do my own personal care. I say thank you for my friends and family who support me every single day. If you focus on what is good, you will always find it and it will multiply. My challenges to you today is to find 3 things every single day that you are thankful for, and I promise you that your life will be better immediately. Yeah, but number 3, this is where it gets good. People in wheelchairs don't have romantic relationships, and further, I believe that I wasn't lovable. You will not believe how much I, to my core, thought that this was the truth. I wasn't one of those other people who deserved all of that. A healthy, happy relationship was rare, and love just wasn't on the table for me anymore. But I had found a career I loved, and I had created a happier, healthier version of myself. I'd proven myself wrong with these last 2 lies. So, what if? The trouble with this type of lie is that it kept me so safe. Take the wheelchair out of the equation, and dating is one of the most vulnerable things that any of us can do. I can blame it on absolutely anything in my life to not jump into the dating world to avoid being hurt. And really, why would anyone put themselves through that? But my what if wouldn't go away. And to be completely honest, I was feeling like I was getting cuter and cuter by the day. So one day I thought maybe I'll just try online dating, not actually meet anybody, but just see what it's all about. I didn't really know how it worked. And within minutes of signing up, I had an inbox full of messages from men. This confirmed that I had in fact gotten pretty cute. It did not prove that I was lovable though, as I hadn't disclosed that I was in a wheelchair for safety reasons. I did not want some scary predator to target me because I couldn't defend myself. I hadn't thought this all through because I honestly was not anticipating so much action. But I jumped out of my comfort zone and I started emailing back. Some I immediately crossed off the list, and others I chatted with longer. After about a week, I decided I could move to a phone call with a couple of the guys. I was so nervous. I did not want to prove my unlovable story right, but I was pretty sure that was the direction that I was headed. I'm not sure where I got the nerve to do this when I look back, but I jumped in and I had a few great calls. I decided to tell one guy my full story. And guess what? He was so unbelievably okay with it that I thought he must just be lying. When he asked me on a date, I reluctantly agreed. I was terrified. I was very excited though, so I went. He was my boyfriend for almost 2 years. Him and I were not a match in many ways, but he was respectful, kind, and taught me a lot about myself and what I wanted in a relationship. When we broke up, I went through all of the same fears and thoughts I had during round one. But I went back online because overall, it was a positive experience for me. I quickly found another seemingly great guy. He planned a very fancy first date and put in a lot of effort to impress me. This was something that I decided I loved about dating. He and I dated for about a year and a half. Another decent human being. Not the man I wanted to marry, though. Now, I had a list of things I wanted. I wasn't just looking for somebody because they were interested in me back. I wanted certain qualities. I spent about a year dating different guys that just didn't make the cut for my new list. One day, when I was managing my dating calendar, and it was very busy, it dawned on me, could it be that I am now in control of my romantic destiny? Did I get to decide what this part of my life looked like? My bar was officially raised. And once my bar was raised and my list was clear, I was able to find my forever guy. And he is better than the list I created for myself. I can't even put into words the care, love, and acts of service he gives me every day. He's fun and soft and hilarious and amazing. The biggest lesson from taking on the dating world that I took away was we are all the creator of our own destiny. If you accept less, you will get less. With the first two men I had long-term relationships with, I absolutely did not ask for or receive what I needed. I was more of a spectator. I waited and watched to see what they would give, and then I just accepted it. That strategy does not work in dating or in life. It is a way to guarantee that you will get crumbs when you want the whole cake. Until you are crystal clear on what you want from your human experience, you won't get it. My yeah but stories all prove not to be true. But whether they're based in reality or not, I wholeheartedly believe them. I imagine in this group, you all have goals or ideas of things you'd love to try, but you have told yourself, and worse, you've believed your yeah but stories as well. When we've been dealt a tough set of cards, it can be hard to believe that bigger and better things are out there waiting for us, but they are. Trust me, you are the creator of your future. You are powerful and capable, and rather than rest on your experiences as your lot in life, use them to strengthen your character, to reaffirm that you are capable of making it through anything. Repeat to yourself, because I can do all this hard stuff every day. Our lives, for many of us in this conference, are harder than any able-bodied person can even imagine. Yet you get up and you do amazing things every single day. So because you make it through that, you can make it through anything. My challenge to you today is to please stop believing your yeah but stories, to say yes. I don't think, I just say yes. If I allow myself to drown in the details, I would not have the life I have today. I trust that I can figure out the way it will all look and how I will manage the necessary details when it is time. I beg that you just jump in and say yes. And if it's really scary, say yes even louder. On the other side of that fear is where all of life's blessings live. The empowerment of conquering a fear or accomplishing a huge feat is immeasurable. It puts you on a high that playing small and staying still and missing opportunities will never allow for. When I was first in a wheelchair, I honestly thought one day I would wake up and this nightmare would be over. My life would return to what it once was, and I would be saved from all of this. As the years went on, I realized that I would be saved. What I didn't realize was that I would be the one doing the saving. Life is about making a million tiny choices every day. Our perspective on every situation is completely within our control. I have this amazing life where I see the best in people. When I approach a door, someone rushes to open it for me. My perspective on this help is an act of kindness. It is not to pity me. One of my million tiny choices is to smile, say thank you, and be grateful for the help. The truth is, I need it. I'm open to accepting it, and the world always delivers the people, the opportunities, and the lessons I need when I need them. My life has turned into something I'm not even sure I was brave enough to dream. Being here today is a great example of that. At the beginning of this talk, I asked, what happens when the worst thing you can imagine becomes your reality? I have learned acceptance, patience, healing, growth, bravery, positivity, perspective, and most of all, surrendering to the fact that I am not in control of my circumstances, but I am in full control of who I want to be. I am a leader. I am a hard worker. I am a teacher. I am a designer, and I am an advocate. I am taking this life and I'm making sure it is big. Now I have one question left for you guys today. Who do you want to be? Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm so honored to share my story with you.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much, Dayle. I would love to open it up for some questions. And I wanted to also mention that I love your powerful words. And what you highlighted today is actually some of the themes of our conference in the next few days, such that tomorrow we're going to be talking about sex, sexuality, romantic relationships, going into Friday, talking about family relationships, caregiving, that power of that network that you talked about, and then also talking about the changes in health as well. So I will open it up to questions from our attendees. I know one thing that I wanted to ask you, Dayle, as I'll wait for questions to come in, is you mentioned at the beginning of today's talk that you have muscular dystrophy, which we know is a term used to describe a group of different neuromuscular disorders.
Right.
As you're on this journey to identify the specific neuromuscular disorder that you have, and you're still on that diagnostic journey, what are some words for others who have this more generic term or who are on that search for the name of their neuromuscular disorder or for that diagnosis?
Oh gosh, that's a hard one. I mean, I don't put too much energy into it because at the end of the day, if I fit in a box or I don't fit in a box or I'm not exactly like the next person or, my symptoms are different or my progression of muscle deterioration is different. I feel like that's life. Like that's all of us. We're all going through life at our own rate and our own in our own way, and all of our journeys will be so different anyway that you can't sink all your energy into that. You're so much better off to put your energy into things that bring you joy and people that bring you joy, and the ways that you can maybe advocate to find more funds to get, if that will fill up your bucket and make you a happier person because you feel like you're going towards the cause. But I spend very little time worrying about what my diagnosis is because my life is what it is. If I'm in this wheelchair, if I know the name of it or if I don't.
That's great. Thank you
if
so
that
much.
makes sense.
No, I love it. Another thing I wanted to ask you, Dayle, is we recently launched something called Weigh In Wednesdays, and it's part of our advocacy work here, where we launch a question. We ask our clients and our community members questions about advocacy, about being a change agent. One recent question we had is, what is important to you in order to live independently in your home? And a lot of people really aspire to live independently in their home while they have a neuromuscular disorder. As an interior designer, have you thought about home modifications, but also how that, intersects with interior design?
Yeah, so I actually have started specializing in this just because there's a lot of companies out there that have ideas about what it is that is necessary, and there a lot of times they're renovation companies or they're designers, and there's a lived experience that's very different than a textbook experience and just learning from what are the general rules of how wide something should be. Or and if I have any advice, just in like a general sense, because obviously I'm not speaking to people's specific questions about interior design that's accessible and universally, um, if there is such a thing as universal accessibility in a home. I don't really believe in that, but um, is to really be your own advocate for what it is that you need. Like, I am 4'11", I'm in a manual wheelchair, I have a very small footprint. This wheelchair has a very small footprint. So what I'm going to need in my space is going to be very different than a man who's 6'2". He's in a large power chair, needs room to have somebody lifting him potentially as well as the chair. So I really recommend find your local expert, like find me wherever you are, or find me, call me and I'll help you. But I do feel like that's, you have to know your own needs, because somebody coming in that thinks they know what you need is not, you only, I mean, having mobility challenges are, it's maybe one of the most unique things in the world. We're all so different, and I just feel like, just because it works for one, it's not a one size fits all problem to solve.
That's great, Dayle. I see a question coming in here.
Sure.
Jesse had mentioned, what does a healthy disability identity look like for you? Do you believe disability pride is a thing?
I think this is again an individual thing. Like, I have days where I'm Dayle Sheehan with muscular dystrophy, and then I have days that I forget I'm in a wheelchair altogether. And my family and friends forget I'm in a wheelchair altogether, and I'm not, I'm full body weak. So if we're like in Costco or something, they'll walk away from me and think I'm just gonna join them. But usually they have to push me. So I'm waiting for them to push me, and they forgot I was in a wheelchair too for a second. They're like, "I'm sorry, I haven't been around you for a while, and I completely forgot." And so I mean, I think that your pride level, and your attachment and your identity with that is, it needs to be really like in line with where you want it to be. I personally am very, very proud of the fact that I'm in a wheelchair, as well as that I make the most out of this life. I figured out how to use technology to leverage the career I want. And so I'm very proud of myself for, making creating a very full life. And yeah, I hope that I hope that the conversation changes, and in the and people are more open to, looking at it like that's what the part of my speech that I say, where I talk about, I don't look at someone helping me open the door as an act of pity. I really do look at it as help that I need, and I just accept it. I'm very grateful for it. So I think that it has a lot to do with our perspective on how the world's looking at us back as well. And I make the assumption that everybody likes me. So and maybe that's not true, but that's none of my business if they don't.
Oh, that's great. Great. Kyle had not a question, but a comment. Kyle wanted to thank you for being so open with your personal journey so far.
Oh,
He noted that it's inspiring for others who have the same yeah buts and how to challenge those. A question that also came in the chat box is around disclosure to workplace. The feelings of nervousness about whether you'll be discriminated, and this individual is wondering whether they should disclose to the workplace. You mentioned some of your work experiences in your career. Do you have any advice for this individual on this disclosure?
I'll start by saying I've only really ever worked for myself. So I didn't have that exact situation, but working for yourself, I have clients call me because not all of my clients are in need of accessibility. And now with social media, people know a lot more about me. But in the past, what would happen is people would recommend me and maybe not mention that I was in a wheelchair. So I would have a client call me and say, can you come over to my house and look at my master ensuite? It's upstairs, or just the assumption, like they don't even tell me it's upstairs. And then I would have to say, oh, what level is it on? And it's not that I can't go upstairs. It's that I have to bring a different level of support with me to get upstairs. So now it's bringing 2 men potentially, or 2 helpers to carry me up the stairs. Or there's times where I've had to say, I can't come, but I can do a FaceTime with you if you're okay with that. And in my experience, and knock on wood, hopefully this stays forever, people have been very good to me. They have said, oh God, I don't mind doing a FaceTime, that's great. Or my husband will be home and he can help, or whatever. So I mean, that moment, there is always that weird tinge where you're like, what if I lose this job, or what if I lose this project because they don't want the extra hassle, and working with me is not worth it. They could just have another person that can come over and run up the stairs and it'll be way easier. And I've personally never ever actually lost a client because of that. I've never lost a client because of anything, but
That's great, Dayle. I also want to mention to the individual that submitted that question that at Muscular Dystrophy Canada, Dayle, we have, as part of our programs and services, we have service specialists who are in almost every province. We encourage any client that's on the call today to contact their service specialist and have a conversation about this. We would be happy to provide the right support and help with a situation like that. Another question that came in, and it seems to be a common one, is around the cost of making a condo accessible or a building an accessible home is a huge barrier for many of us. How can we work together to challenge the financial burden of disability?
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir here. I feel the same. Like I've worked with it's like accessible housing here in Calgary, and I personally think change needs to happen at a higher level than, because what we pay in Canada for goods and services and mobility equipment is higher than anywhere in the world. Like it is absolutely astronomical what a wheelchair costs in Canada versus what a wheelchair costs in the United States. And it's the same for chair lifts or stair lifts. It's the same for porch lifts. It's the same for all kinds of things. So I don't know what the answers to that is other than advocacy. And I don't know. I would love to make it more affordable for people. In the past, what I've done is I've aligned with local businesses in Calgary that will do things like refurbished mobility devices, and they'll resell them but still maintain the warranties and in all the maintenance for you, because that's the problem. You can buy a used lift or a used piece of equipment, but then it has absolutely nobody to come fix it if it ever breaks. And that's a huge issue for somebody with mobility challenges. They're not going to lay on the floor underneath the lift and fix it because they're not capable of doing that. So those are the kinds of connections I've tried to make locally. And if anybody wants a list of those, you can contact me. But there's some really good companies out there that will do things like refurbish an old lift and sell it to you for a very fair price. They'll also do payment plans, which is very nice because sometimes the upfront cost is the hard part.
That's great. And I don't know if you also know about this, Dayle, but over the summer, Muscular Dystrophy Canada launched a research study called The Economic Impact of Neuromuscular Disorders. And really one of the intentions was that to influence a change at that provincial and at that federal government level of recognizing the cost of living with a neuromuscular disorder. And as Jesse mentioned by submitting this question, the cost of assistive devices, assistive technologies, modifications to a vehicle or to a home. So if anyone on the call hasn't taken that survey online, it is still open. It's on oursurvey.ca/MDC in capital letters. I can put it in the chat box as well. But by submitting your responses, it's helping to increase that power of our united voice, our collective voice, and helping to influence change and really looking at the cost of living with a neuromuscular disorder in Canada. And as Dayle mentioned, it is actually very unique province by province. As we're looking at the responses, there are differences in the types of supports that are available in each province. So that's a great question. Thanks, Jesse. Just looking for any other questions that you all have for Dayle. Everyone in the chat box and has been just so pleased with your talk today, Dayle. And they would like to for you to share your contact information. After this session, we'll also have a thank you email and a survey. I can include it there in that email for everyone as well. Dayle, I will leave time if anyone has any other questions. Stacy, any questions from you? I do see something coming in the chat box. I'll quickly check on that. Yeah, it seems to be that the one comment here is, I have no real answers on how to encourage the apartment building owners to get in, to continue to push them until they give in, and it's around accommodations. But they were wishing good luck to the person who had submitted that question.
I didn't have a question, Homera, but I wanted to thank Dayle. Dayle, thank you so much for sharing your story. And you know, I'm looking at all the comments in the chat section here. Thank you for, you know, really sharing the encouragement and the resiliency. And, you know, we hear so much of the similar type of stories from our clients, so that it's wonderful that you've provided some tools and resources to really provide some tangible supports that clients can use. So thank you so much for your time. And yeah, it was great. Thank you very much. A great kickoff to the conference. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me to speak. It honestly is an honor, and it means the world to me to connect with this community. And I look forward to speaking again. And
yeah, we're so grateful to you, Dayle, for kicking off our conference in the right way and in a powerful way. And as I mentioned, your talk today highlighted some key themes from what we will be demonstrating in our future sessions, such as tomorrow on sexual health and neuromuscular disorders. If you haven't registered already, feel free to email me at research@muscle.ca. Our research team would be happy to provide the links. We would once again like to thank Dayle for sharing her story and positive words. And if you haven't already, please register for the conference. It will be going on until the 24th. And I would also like to thank Roche and PTC for helping to support education initiatives like this and for their ongoing collaboration with MDC. Thank you all so much again, and we hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you.